Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ordinary Meeting of Council, Wednesday the 25th of February 2026, held here in our council chambers, commencing at 5:30. Nala karak nungamot kan karak ninja buja. We acknowledge the traditional custodians and the lands in which we meet. As part of my announcements by the President, I would like to acknowledge Jazz in the Jarrah that was held the other weekend by Lions. It was a fantastic night. The weather was amazing, and I'd just like to commend Lions. They raised $2,500 that night, which goes towards the Royal Flying Doctor Service. It's a fantastic event that they hold every year. Dot Jacobs is a little rocket powerhouse that seems to push that through every year, so we would just like to give her a special shout out and absolutely encourage you to take the time to participate next year, as I'm sure it will be another fantastic night. Attendance, we have apologies from...
Thank you, Madam President. We have an apology from Councillor De Campo and an apology from Councillor Danielle.
Thank you, and there are no approved leaves of absence. Declarations of interest.
Thank you again. We have a few to get through tonight. We have a declaration of a financial interest from Councillor Darren in relation to agenda item 9.5.2, which is a proposed subdivision in Manjimup. And the nature of the interest is a contractual relationship with one of the owners. We have a proximity interest registered for Councillor Batink in relation to agenda item 9.12.2, which is a proposed road closure on Mottram Road. And the nature of the interest is that Councillor Batink owns a neighbouring property. We have an impartiality interest, again from Councillor Batink on agenda item 9.9.4 in relation to the Manjimup Ray Park redevelopment, and the nature of the interest is that Councillor Batink is a member of a user group, being the Warren Ag Society. We have another financial interest from Councillor Batink on agenda item 9.5.2, which is a subdivision application in Manjimup. And the nature of the interest held is that Councillor Batink is a director of AWJ Trust, which is related to the applicant, I believe, and the landowner. Another financial interest, and this one is from Madam President, Danelle Bugie, in relation to agenda item 9.5.1. It is in relation to re-establishment of the Pine Plantation. The nature of the interest held is that Madam President is a trustee of the contractor to the proponent. And lastly, we have an impartiality interest from Madam President in relation to agenda item 9.9.4, which is a funding agreement to do with Ray Park and Collier Street recreation fields. And the nature of the interest held is that Madam President is a patron of the Agricultural Show, which is a user group to the area. Now, just a reminder for those in the gallery and some of the newer councillors, if there's an impartiality interest, it's like a relationship there, then the council member can continue in that agenda item. If it's a financial interest or a proximity interest, the councillor needs to leave the chamber for that agenda item. And we will have a little bit of ups and downs of councillors for a variety of agenda items tonight.
We certainly will. Okay, thank you. Item 5 is public question time. So 5.1, response to public questions taken on notice, we have nil. 5.2 is public question time. Under meeting procedure determined by the Shire of Manjimup, standing orders, local law 2013. This is the only opportunity for members of the public to ask up to 2 questions of council. So this is the only time you get to speak. So if you choose to speak, now is it. We will attempt to answer all of those questions. Any questions that need further information, we'll take them on notice. We do ask that your name and area of locality of where you live is stated, and any notes you have can be passed on. They will form part of our minutes. So I would ask, is there anyone that would like to address council? Thanks, Rose.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rose Boyle. I'm here tonight representing the Manjimup Speedway Club. I am the secretary. This is not a question, this is more information for councillors, especially the newer councillors. Last month, our club hosted the junior state title. There was 82 nominations, which is one of the highest that's ever been recorded in any state title for juniors in this state. Out of those 82, 78 came from outside the Shire of Manjimup, and of those, 15 were all from over east. So we always been conscious of promoting the Shire, and with the support and help of the Tourist Bureau or Visitor Centre, they actually did up an information package for us that we handed out to all the drivers, all the junior drivers. Some of them started the families because the weekend previous to ours, there was a national title in Esperance, and that's one of the reasons we got so many Eastern Staters. It was still middle of the school holidays. Thus, people started arriving in town here from the Tuesday, and I know from first hand of people where these visitors spent their money, anything through from hairdressers to beauticians to whatever. And I just wanted the councillors and the public, or recorded, to note the impact, the tourism and the economic impact that this event had for Manjimup, and obviously for our club too. The event was live streamed through an organisation called Play Per View. We had just short of 400 people take up the streaming, so that would have theoretically it could go overseas as well, but I would actually say that most of the viewers were within Australia, especially over east where they were following their state drivers. And that's it. It was just a general information for you, and just thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Rose. I would like to acknowledge too what a fantastic weekend it was. It was so well run out there. The food was fantastic. The bar was fantastic. And I personally have received so much fantastic feedback through the town. Congratulations. It's a hard-working little team out there, and you really do punch above your weight. You're doing a great job out there. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you. Any other questions, statements, songs?
No, I told the joke in Walpole when we were there, so I won't do that again.
My jokes aren't that
Hello,
bad.
Norm Hawkins. I'm from Walpole. I drove up here tonight regarding the RV camping, that the Shire is the path the Shire is going down. And this is after having a lot of people contact me after putting notices out and so on and so forth. One, I'd like to ask the Shire why they're going down this path. We have a great Bustleton, then we've got Manjimup, then we've got Walpole, we've got Denmark and Albany. Bustleton do not have any free camping. They police it greatly. None at all. The Shire Rangers have none, and their town is thriving with tourism. Denmark have no free camping in the Shire at all. So it just begs belief why Manjimup would go down that path of selling your soul for nothing. This is a beautiful area, and we shouldn't give it away for nothing. We should be protecting our local businesses and the caravan parks that operate in Manjimup and Walpole and Pemberton and Northcliffe, because I have been contacted by people from Northcliffe and people from Manjimup as well. So it's not, I'm sure if you listened to the people and put out there about this project, I think you would find that there's a different point of view to what you're thinking about doing. Also, the other question, seeing as I have to ask two questions. Go away. Sorry. I'd like to know what the dump point is costing for Walpole. That's the other question I would like to ask, because we have two caravan parks. Both of them have dump points that are managed by the caravan parks and cost the Shire nothing. And that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see, instead of 6 bays going into Walpole, I'd like to see something that I've been part of looking at for over 20 years, and having a playground in the Walpole Pioneer Park. Now today, I was told that Walpole will never have a playground in Pioneer Park by somebody. I won't say who it is, but I was told that. So that sort of made me put a bit of fire in my belly, and I think it's time that we led more of a charge to have that playground in Pioneer Park. I did a survey a petition with Ivan Gardner many years ago, 15 years ago, just asking that the peppy trees in the park be pruned so that grass could grow, and it's not a dust bowl, which it is now. It just fell on deaf ears. So now, seeing as I'm retired, I'll have more time to invest, and hopefully we can listen to the people about this free RV camping and not give this beautiful place that we don't need to attract tourists with RV camping, give it away for nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do a little bit and I might pass over to the CEO. We can't debate this obviously because it is an item, so I can't debate it. But what I would like to sort of just clarify is how we got to this point. So this was a notice of motion. Every councillor has the right to bring a notice of motion to the table, and then that is investigated. That notice of motion got up for council to investigate it. That's how that got here. So it wasn't a direction of senior management. It was a direction that came from council that was discussed around the table. That will then be debated tonight about the direction of what that motion means. So it's not a done deal, but it's something that we will debate tonight to see where that goes. As far as the playground goes, and you never getting a playground, as far as I know, that's still on the table. Money, as with all things, is a bit of an issue. We did have an issue as well of who was responsible for that land between us and DBCA. We now have a clear path with that, so that gives us a little bit more direction about how we can go forward with that. Money, as always, is an issue. We have an incredible amount of playgrounds within our Shire that part of insurance, we need to keep on renewing those. That's not to say that any town is not more important than any other town, but it is how we spread that money across the towns. We will continue to investigate your playground. It has been a conversation of council many, many times. Funding is always the block to that. And we do acknowledge that it's a great park and it would definitely be a draw card for Walpole. I know Councillor Wilcox is a great champion for that park. We were just discussing it before this, of how we can get that across the line, and it is a matter of us continually looking for funding for that. Dump point is above my pay rate. Someone else is going to have to answer that one.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for the question with regards to the Walpole dump point. I can't answer it off the top of my head. We'll have to go back through the Shire's financial records. So what will happen from here over the next week or two, we'll send an email to you or a letter if you don't have email. I presume you've got email, with that advice. And then at the next council meeting, the response to that question will form part of the agenda. So it'll be on the public record as well as being emailed to you. So if we can maybe catch your email address before you leave tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. And as always, I'm in Walpole every second month. Please feel free to come and have a chat while I'm having my sandwich and coffee while I'm down there. Please come in and have a chat. Are there any other questions from the gallery? Statements? Come on up.
Yes, good evening, councillors. My name is Jeff Anderson and I reside at 365 Manjimup Road in Manjimup.
Thank you.
And my questions and comments will relate to the DA 25/177. We have only recently just been made very much aware that this proposal impacts Manjimup Road, and we have sort of done a fair bit of homework in the last day or two just to become a bit familiar with it, and so I'm going to set some context before I ask any questions. We've now, and I'll make a couple of statements because we're objecting to this. We're objecting to this, and we weren't given the opportunity to submit an objection before this time, and I've got some questions around that. We've read the 5 other objections included in the DA Shire and the preparations for this meeting, and certainly we express our support for all the issues and the evidence that they've raised in relation to that proposal, and particularly relating to the zone and land use inconsistency, the inconsistencies with the fire risk management plan and environmental impact management. We have a few other objections. Manjimup Road is a cul-de-sac. Double Bridge Road, which is the other possible exit from our place, is an unmaintained road with collapsed bridges and things. We have a green stick on Manjimup Road, but we were omitted from the we were actually admitted from the submissions process, and we want to know why that is the case. We were told, we rang the Shire and we were told that we fell outside of the notification radius. Now that notification radius must be fairly small if we've fallen outside that, because the corner of this plantation is about 300 or 400 metres from our house. We believe that the notification area should have included all those people who are impacted through evacuation routes and through additional traffic and things that are associated with the whole of that development. We have a problem in that we weren't really very aware of it. We understand that the documentation for the development was placed on the council website, but it doesn't appear to have been systematically distributed to people in Northcliffe. Northcliffe, it still remains to be, to many residents, a bit of a mystery, and there's not a lot known about it. Residents in Pemberton weren't aware, and residents of Windy Harbour. I raise those two other communities because this development really creates a fuel zone, a wick, if you like, with the potential to connect any fires which run up from Windy Harbour, which they've done in the last 10 years. We've actually had 2 fires that we've seen run from Windy Harbour up towards Northcliffe, and it's gotten very close to the location of where this plantation will be. And there are real fears that that could actually catch into an area like, such as a plantation, Wick North, up into that southern parts of the Kari forests, and certainly make its way easily up towards Pemberton. So we have some questions around the fire management plan that was submitted and how it's supposed to tackle those aspects of it. The omission in terms of the actual submission by the proponent, we feel has been fairly sloppy in that the information provided in terms of the landholders around that particular area has omitted many aspects. If you look at the plans where they try to identify structures and houses, our house doesn't appear. There are many houses which don't appear, and many structures which don't appear on that plan. So it appears to have been a fairly sloppy effort on their part, and we are very concerned about really the openness that they're inviting in terms of their submission. The other highlights in terms of the proposal are the economic and property impacts as a result of that.
I'll just let you know you've got one more minute. I'll just let you know.
Yep, thank you. We want to know what actions the Shire might be taking in terms of perhaps I'm just going to jump ahead in here to find for perhaps additional liability if this goes ahead and the approval associated with this plantation in terms of the increased fire risk, particularly to the existing residents in the immediate vicinity of that fire and the people actually in the communities north and south of that area as well. The Shire has encouraged the development of some of the industries and tourist activities and things in this area, and wonder why facilitating land use change that increases fuel continuity, intensifies crown fire risk, limits evacuation redundancy, and places single road communities in a high intensity fuel corridor, how that significantly elevates the Shire's duty of care. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have other questions that we can answer outside of this, please let us know and we will get some of those questions answered for you. I cannot answer this because this is my financial, so if you would like to tackle those things.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the context as well. The three questions that I've captured here. First one is around the exclusion from the consultation radius.
Yep.
The second question was around the veracity of the fire management plan.
Yes.
And the third question is around implications to liabilities to the Shire in if it does come to pass that the application is approved. Have I captured the three
Yes, that's
questions?
essentially
Yeah.
those. Yes.
I'll probably need to do a little bit of research on those and come back to you. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to sort of answer all of those three on the fly. But again, we'll organise an email to you, and the responses to those questions will form part of the agenda for the next meeting as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought there might be. Was anyone else like to tackle that one? Thank you.
Good evening. Christine Doyle, Manjimup, and speaking on the pine plantation. The pine plantation actually borders our property. My concerns are that Delta, the management group, when they have answered some of our queries, the answers that have come back are not really, I don't think, been investigated properly. DBCA have stated that they shouldn't be relied upon for aerial surveillance or for fire response or suppression. Delta, in their fire management matrix, have said in each one of their fire management indexes that there will be direct attack on any fire, there'll be earth-moving machines, aerial water bombing, bombing assisted. Everything is relying on DBCA and the local brigades to fight any fire. Delta are based in Busselton, and as far as I know, have no machinery, have no firefighting equipment here in the area. I may be wrong, but they haven't been able to give me those answers. Fire is our biggest risk. They have said that it's unlikely that there will be a lightning strike in the area. 2 weeks ago, we had 6 hours of lightning up and down the coast. No, there were no fires, thank goodness. Our two major fires, 2015, which was the O'Sullivan, and then the fire last year, were all lightning strikes. It's not necessarily going to be a lightning strike within the plantation. One outside of the plantation and going through it is our biggest danger. I'd also like to know that if the council decides to approve this application, will the council give us reasons why they have prioritised a pine plantation over the needs of the local farmers, the community, and those in the surrounding area? I see no economic or social value that they bring to Northcliffe or to the Manjimup Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you again for the context and the question. I suppose the question that I've captured out of that is around if the resolution of the council tonight is to approve the development application, what's the rationale in terms of priority for this rather than other economic uses of the land, whether that's horticulture, agriculture, or other? Have I captured that?
Yes, you have.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, keep going.
No, that's right, please.
No, and also are Delta going to give more information on what their fire resources are and how they are going to manage this event when it occurs?
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Just in relation to the first question, to do with the priority of plantation as a land use compared to other land uses. This might sound a little bit bureaucratic. However, the council's role in this instance, when it's assessing a development application, is what we call a quasi-judicial role. So the council is looking at legislation which exists from a variety of state government bodies, but principally our local planning scheme. And so there are no, in theory, there are no questions of preference for different types of land uses. It's really assessing the application as it was submitted against the local government's town planning scheme or local planning scheme. So questions as to priority of different types of land use can't form part of the council's decision. Not to say that it doesn't in some local governments from time to time, and that's when councils can find applications being appealed. So I suppose it's a little bit of a dry management sort of a response and probably not what you might want to have heard, but basically the application is assessed against the local planning scheme. In relation to the proponents' fire management processes, they will need to be captured in the bushfire management plan, and it'll be really across DFES and the Shire to make sure that Delta Forestry maintains all of the obligations that it has set out in its bushfire management plan. Yeah, I suppose that's. I know it's a little bit generic, but I suppose that's as much as I can offer.
Thank you.
Evening all. Kurt Cath, previously resided out where this pine plantation proposal's been submitted, currently in Northcliffe. Apart from the issues that Jeff and Christine have raised, which I agree with, I also have an environmental concern. I didn't see anywhere in the proposal, they mentioned the Dombacup subcatchment to the Warren, but there was nowhere in the proposal where they mentioned the Manjimup watershed. This is a pretty unique watershed. There's a lot of native fish there. There's no introduced species. There must be some kind of concern, because when we first bought the property out there, we were looking at a venture doing fish farming, and we were told by the department that under no circumstances will we be bringing any introduced species into the Manjimup watershed. So it was just unusual they didn't mention that watershed, which I believe is quite unique and should be looked after, and concerned that any pine plantation might have any significant risk on that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the gallery? Thank you.
My name is David McCoy. I am a director of Firmatudo Holdings, which owns the property that Kurt was just describing. We purchased in September of last year. This is a licensed commercial marine farm. It has been established in the early 1980s and continuously operated as a marine farm. And it is an important part of the marine industry of Western Australia. Our business, it's in a unique aquaculture environment, and we rely entirely on 5 incoming streams that go through into our property, and they all come through the lots that have been proposed for pine plantations. The water flows through our property continuously, and then into the Manjimup River and through the Doncaster National Park into the Southern Ocean. The Forest Management Plan does not acknowledge the aforementioned lots sit inside the Manjimup River catchment, and certainly only refer to the Warren River catchment. This submission is significant because the Manjimup River catchment is one of the few remaining rivers in Western Australia with no introduced aquatic species. We have western pygmy perch, we have western minnows, we have endangered black striped minnow, we obviously have marron, and from time to time pouched lamprey come up the river. As Kurt said, former owners of our farm were denied the ability to do fish farming on the property because of the uniqueness. We were only notified of this application on the 5th of November. We share 3 property boundaries with the applicant, and no direct correspondence has been engaged with us. So what we want to stress is the hydrological and water quality risk to our property and downstream of our property. There has been blue gums on the property before, but we have done a little research around the difference between blue gums and pine plantations and the impact on the water. Without going into all the detail, pine has a much longer growth cycle, a much longer cycle of harvest. It has a larger, longer draw of water, whereas the blue gums are on a shorter cycle, impact in a much shorter period. So there's definitely going to be periods of extension in the zero flow days of water that's going to come into our property. We are also concerned about the impacts of turbidity, erosion, nutrients, pesticides, hydrocarbon residues, any residues that come from the falling debris from the tree. As a non-native species to the area, there's obviously impact that we are not aware of and has not been assessed by the applicant. I also wanted to stress that our property will be completely isolated. We will be surrounded by the Doncastro National Park and this pine plantation. Our only road in and out is through the pine plantation. So we talk about fire risk, it's pretty real for us. Okay. That being said, we are happy to work with the applicant in assessing what could happen to our property, but we just stress that we don't want this just approved without any consideration to what could happen to our business and the property and the water quality, both within our property and downstream. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions, statements? Hello, you look vaguely familiar. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Janet Lee. I'm also of 365 Manjimup Road, and I wanted to ask a couple of procedural questions for the council and for some documentation. I'm not sure if it's available on the website, and you can direct me if that's the case, but I'd like to be directed and see the documentation with regard to the hydrology reports that the Shire assessed and looked into, the environmental impact reports that the Shire looked into, and in particular the commercial enterprise loss, insurance risk, as in the increased premiums that property owners will incur, and also the possibility that they will not be insurable due to the fire risk. So I'd like to see the reports that the council took or sought for those impacts and those assessments. The officer mentioned that with planning, it's very dry and procedural, and that one property development is not prioritised over another. I would like to see documentation as to what criteria the council uses and what exact procedures, bylaws, etc. are applied to secure fairness between one property development and another property development, especially when there is an impact to the valuation of the surrounding properties. There will be surrounding property impact, there will be valuation impact to the surrounding properties. It is as insurance premiums rise, there is obviously only one axis in and out. And I'd also like to know where the documentation that the council sought and gathered to accurately assess the properties and the commercial investment and losses of the properties in the surrounding area. Mine is a truffery. I have produced up to 500 kilograms of truffles out of my little truffery. So to me, it is very much a commercial venture and a highly profitable one, unless the acidity in the soil is impacted, which it may be, by this. I also draw water from a bore, and we are talking about the hydrology. So I ask the council to please point me to the documentation, the criteria that they used, the procedural notes and bylaws that applied, in particular to fairness in valuating enterprise and commercial losses, valuation and property insurance risks, and how one property is assessed versus another. if fairness is not a concern from planning, then whose is it? It may be a recourse that we all have for further action. We all, are, as you have heard, have our own objections and would like Council's indication as to what further actions we have. So if Council could please tell us what further actions we have should this application go through. What are our further rights that we can avail ourselves of? Can we ask for Ombudsman review? Can we take this to court and ask for rescinded approval? Can Council please advise us of these, and in documentation if possible? Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. In relation to the request for hydrology reports and economic impact reports, I'll need to take that on notice and come back to you. And similarly to some of the other questions we've taken on notice, very happy to email you the response, and it will also appear in the agenda for the next meeting as well. In relation to your comments on, or your queries in relation to insurance implications and economic and market implications for other properties, I can advise that under the West Australian town planning legislation, local governments and indeed the state government is prohibited from giving consideration to economic impacts of town planning or development applications. Now, I understand that's probably not what you wanted to hear. However, the Shire's local planning scheme is, I suppose, a bylaw by another name, which gives detailed guidance and consideration to the types of land uses that can be approved, setbacks, requirements for fire management plans, bushfire attack level assessments, access arrangements, and a whole lot of other sort of normal town planning considerations. You won't find economic impacts in that document, I'm sorry to tell you. In relation to appeal processes or options from here, if the resolution of the council later tonight is to approve the development application, again, I can advise in Western Australian jurisdiction, there's no third-party appeal rights for development applications. There is in some of the eastern states. I think Victoria, maybe New South Wales, have third-party appeal processes, but there isn't in Western Australia. My advice there would be maybe to take some legal advice as to whether there are remedies through, I doubt very much whether it's the Ombudsman, but whether there are other courts of appeal that could be open. As I mentioned before, the common process of an appeal is really only open to the applicant. For instance, if they're aggrieved by a particular condition of approval or if they're aggrieved by a refusal of an approval. And I'll have to come back to you in email if I can have your email address. Oh, actually, I think we've emailed before with regard to the hydrology report and the environmental impact report.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I've already spoken, but I just have one. Because there are things that you're going back to find information on, will that be distributed all of us here or only those who have put the questions in?
Thank you. Mr. CEO?
Thank you, Madam President. That will be directed to the people that have asked the question explicitly. However, in the agenda for next month's meeting, all of those questions will be, all of the responses you'll be able to read, and it's open and free. So that will be probably in about 3 weeks' time. It'll be on the Shire's website.
Sorry, I've already spoken. What about the omission of the Manjimup watershed? Did you put that in your notes and possible environmental impacts to the Manjimup watershed? Watershed was omitted from the proposal.
Thank you.
I did receive that as a commentary more than a question, but if you'd like it recorded as a question.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay, yep.
It's a very unique watershed. The Dombacut subsection was mentioned for the Warren.
We'll add that in for you.
Nothing about it.
We'll add it in for you. No worries. We'll add it in for you. Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions from the gallery? Fabulous. Thank you very much. Item 6 is presentations. 6.1, we have petitions, there are nil. 6.2, presentations, there are nil. 6.3, we have deputations. I think we have 2 to be read out, Mr CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, yeah, we have 2 requests for deputation from people who are actually unfortunately unable to get to the meeting tonight. So they've provided a page or so each. The first is from H&J Manning of Walpole, and it relates to the Walpole RV friendly proposal. And I'll read this verbatim. We are ratepayers living in Walpole and are concerned about the proposal for free RV camping in Walpole that is on the agenda for tonight's council meeting. Our opposition is particularly focused on the proposed location in Pioneer Park and how this may impact on future development for a playground and entry statement to the town. The Shire would be aware of the townspeople's deep attachment to Pioneer Park. This proposal is a slap in the face for Walpole residents. For many years, people have been agitating for some development of the site that could be an asset to the community and visitors. We understand that tenure, as in land tenure, has been an issue, but it has been stated that this has now been resolved. Pioneer Park needs a master plan for the whole area before any ad hoc proposal is considered, along with proper community consultation, not targeted consultation. I understand that at least $12,000 of ratepayers' money has been earmarked for this development. This should be redirected to developing an updated master plan. Let's do this properly with planned development. Although the recent community blueprint process has not been completed, Council would be well aware of the depth of feeling for the park. This was clearly the main point of interest at the public meeting. There was no talk at all in support of the Council's current proposal. We were told that this process will be used to guide Council decision making. There are a number of issues that Council needs to consider. Number 1, has the access to the park from the highway been discussed with Main Roads Western Australia? My understanding that previous proposals that the visitor centre considered were not acceptable due to closeness to the bend and the hill and the size of the vehicles that would be turning. Point 2, the soil of the area is sand with minimal grass cover. It will turn into a dust bowl very quickly and require hardening at considerable extra cost. Point 3, the Munnabiddy and Bibbulmun track go past this area. Point 4, the previous trial showed there were issues with compliance from the users. Point 5, there is no local ranger, so enforcement will be non-existent. Point 6, the Walpole entry statement has litter-free Walpole, suggesting a town with pride. The first vision of Walpole from the west will be a gypsy camp, a contradiction. Point 7, there was an old master plan drawn up more than 5 years ago. This did not have RV camping included on it. Point 8, the dump point needs to be functioning correctly before inviting RVs, given it has been plagued with problems and has spent more time closed than open. And the last point, 9, does the community values and opinion mean something, or is Council running its own agenda? We hope you seriously consider this motion tonight and as a minimum postpone a decision for Walpole RV camping until after an update to the master plan has been developed that involves community consultation. H&J Manning, Walpole. And on the same agenda item from Sarah Corbett, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Summer Star Tourist Parks. Dear President and Councillors, I'm writing regarding the proposal to allocate 6 overnight RV bays within Pioneer Park under the Shire's RV Friendly Town Initiative. My family own and operate the Walpole Rest Point Caravan Park, and we are one of 2 privately owned local caravan parks. Summer Star is currently investing significant capital into the Walpole Caravan Park, committing millions of dollars to upgrade accommodation and guest facilities. This investment is long-term, private capital being deployed with confidence in Walpole's tourism future and the Shire's commitment to sustainable economic development. Pioneer Park is prime community land. Repurposing part of it for overnight vehicle accommodation risks undermining both community aspirations and private tourism investment. The proposed introduction directly duplicates an existing service already provided by 2 established caravan parks in Walpole. Both parks provide compliant facilities and local employment and economic activity. There is also a real cost associated with this proposal that extends beyond simply allocating bays. Overnight vehicle stays require monitoring, compliance enforcement, waste management, rubbish removal, security oversight, safety risks in case of fire or other emergency, and ongoing maintenance. The Shire's own reporting acknowledges limited enforcement capacity, and without consistent supervision, these sites risk expanding beyond the intended 6 bays. An increase in litter, wastewater misuse or antisocial behaviour ultimately becomes a cost to ratepayers. While it's often suggested that free RV stays increase local spending, most self-contained travellers arrive stocked with fuel and groceries from larger centres and spend minimally during short 24 to 48 hour stops. Any small purchases need to be weighed against the displacement effect. Visitors who would otherwise stay in local caravan parks and contribute more substantially to the economy. Redirecting guests from rate-paying operators to free public sites does not create new economic activity. It simply shifts it, while potentially increasing costs to the Shire. We respectfully ask Council to consider 2 points. Point 1, the signal this sends to private investors considering long-term capital deployment in Walpole. And 2, the impact on local operators who provide employment, compliance and proper infrastructure. We remain committed to Walpole's growth and would welcome constructive dialogue on how council and private operators can work together to strengthen the town's tourism offering without duplicating services or weakening local enterprise. We urge council to reconsider this proposal before Wednesday's vote. Yours sincerely, Sarah Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. 6.4 delegate reports, there are nil. 6.5 conference reports, there are nil. Item 7, confirmation of the previous minutes. Would someone like to move those minutes? Councillor Mylan? Councillor Mylan? Councillor Mylan?
Thank you. Sorry. I move that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting as recorded. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Tempera. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. 8, motion of which previous notice has been given. Surprisingly, there's none. 9, officers' report. So for the interest of the gallery, I'll explain how we're going to consider this. We run through the agenda. Any items that council wishes to debate, we will pull out. They'll go on the board behind us. If the item is not pulled out, it will be considered approved as per the officer's recommendation, and you will be informed about that within due process. Following this, council will consider the remaining items in agenda order. Okay, so Office of the CEO, 9.1.1, exercise of delegated authority during the period 17th of December 25 to 5th of February 26. 9.1.2 is absolute and taken out. Request for approval to expend reserve funds for Brockman Street lights maintenance. 9.1.3, unconfirmed minutes of the 2025 annual meeting of electors held on the 4th of February 26. Can we just take that out, please? Corporate and governance, 9.2.1, implementation of Local Government Act reforms. Finance and administration, 9.3.1, Shire financial payments for November 25. 9.3.2, Shire financial payments for December 25. 9.3.3, monthly statement of financial activity November 25. 9.3.4, monthly statement of financial activity December 2025. 9.3.5 is absolute and taken out. Proposed budget review adjustment 21st of December 2025. Statutory planning, 9.5.1, re-establishment of Pine Plantation Northcliffe is a financial and taken out. 9.5.2, proposed subdivision of lots 951, 952 and 8694 Richardson Road, Manjimup is financial and taken out. 9.5.3, delegated planning decisions November and December 2025 and January 2026. 9.5.4 is absolute and taken out. Proposed budget adjustment for the preparation of the Conservation Management Plan for the Manjimup Infant Health Centre. 9.5.5, proposed new planning policy, 6.1.26 residential buildings. 9.5.6, proposed amendment to the local planning policy, 6.1.5, unhosted short-term rental accommodation, holiday accommodation. 9.5.7, proposed amendment to the local planning policy, 6.1.4, advertising devices, signage and flags is taken out. Community and Recreation Services, 9.9.1, proposed endorsement of the Manjimup Regional Aquatic Centre Asset Management Plan. 9.9.2, recommendations for establishing recreational vehicle-friendly towns is taken out. Thank you. 9.9.3, deferred item 22nd of April 2025, consideration of requests from Pemberton Cycling Association for the support of the trail development in Pemberton is taken out. 9.9.4 is absolute and taken out. Proposed funding agreement and budget adjustment for Manjimup Ray Park and Collier Street redevelopment project stage 2. Technical services. 9.12.1, proposed review of policy. 9.2.1, waste disposal site tipping fees and waste collection charge exemptions. 9.12.2, proposed road closure and amalgamation of unnamed unconstructed road reserve in the vicinity of lot 9994 Mottram Road, Barara Brook is proximity and taken out. Works. 9.13.1, asset condition report and proposed best practice management of the Shire of Manjimup best practice management of Shire of Manjimup bridges. 9.13.2, bridge number 8033, Southwestern Highway Timber Gantry Paintworks. Can I have that taken out, please? Parks and Gardens, 9.14.1 is absolute and taken out. Northcliffe Forest Park Broad Walk Insurance Claim Expenditure. 9.14.2, further information related to notice of motion Pemberton Playground refurbishment. Advisory committees, 9.16.1, unconfirmed minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 12th of December 25 is taken out, please. 9.16.1. Caught you on that one, Mr. Lockwood. Would someone like to move those, please? Councillor Batink, you just need to stand.
I move those.
No, there's a thing at the bottom, Jules, that council adopts.
Council adopt the recommendations contained in the council officers and committee reports within section 9 of the agenda, with the exception of those on the board.
Excellent, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Wilcox, thank you. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Is carried 7-0, thank you. Alrighty, let's get cracking. Oh, thank you, that's heaps better. 9.1.2. We've just had the flags and they're getting in the way of the whiteboard. It's okay. 9.1.2, request approval to expend reserve funds of Brockman Street light maintenance. Someone move that? Councillor Mylan?
Yeah, I'd like to move the motion, though, intend to speak against it. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'd like to move as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Burns, thank you. Councillor Mylan, would you like to speak?
I would like to. This motion calls for us to transfer some funds from reserve to spend $40,000 on investigating the coloured lights in Brockman Street and to determine the extent of the problem and then possibly fix it. One of the options that in the officer's report, there were about 3 different options. One of them was to do nothing, and I'm proposing to vote against this motion so that we don't do anything and we see what actually happens with those lights. I think it's a good opportunity for a town advisory committee to be involved in thinking about the future of these lights. My questions are, we fix these lights now and then we're going to have to fix them up in 10 years' time. Do we want to have these lights in that area for eternity, for the next 20 years, the next 50 years? So I'm proposing that we don't spend the money on it. Thank you.
Councillor Burns?
Thank you very much. I don't know if you'd go so far as to call the lights in Brockman Street iconic, but they're definitely a draw card. And it's certainly not something, I certainly wouldn't support the idea of doing nothing and letting them fizzle and metaphorically letting the lights go out. However, to be stuck in a position where so soon after having them installed in the first place, we're looking down the barrel of quite a hefty bill, I do think this is perhaps something that is worthy of further investigation and community consultation as to what exactly this is going to look like. So with that in mind, I support Councillor Mylan's proposal that we do nothing at this stage and allow ourselves more opportunity to see what happens down the road. Thank you.
Are there any speakers for? Are there any other speakers for the motion? Any other speakers against? Okay, I'm going to speak for it. This is our lights in Brockman Street are very well recognised within the area. They are featured quite heavily within a lot of social media posts. They are featured heavily within when we acknowledge significant days, events, especially through Christmas, to look through Brockman Street down to our Christmas tree. This was a proposal that was put through by a town advisory, which I believe, Councillor Mylan, you were on. For us to let, as Councillor Byrne says, the lights to go out, I think would be a great shame. This was a directive of our community that they wanted this within our town centre. This is an area that is activated, has been and could be possibly in the future, activated for events and community events. I feel that to let the lights go out at this point without any investigation of how we might be able to reduce the expenditure going forward would be really detrimental to the visibility and the aesthetics of our town. So with that in mind, I will be supporting the officer's recommendation. That will give us a guidance and a clear direction going forwards of how we tackle this into the future. This is a conversation that we have often. We build things without a reserve or without a maintenance or a path forward in which for us to do this economically. Obviously, this is something that we as a council, we're now looking at how we do that. But to let those lights go out now, I think would be a great shame. So I will be supporting the officer's recommendation and put it to council that they also support. Councillor Mylan, did you want to close? Oh, Councillor Darren, something to say?
I was going to try and reduce how much I spoke tonight because you can hear that I've lost my voice. But I think I was on council when these lights got put up. I don't think I was on council when it all got approved, but certainly when they went up. And I've been around since that area has been activated. And I do disagree with our Shire President. I don't think that area is activated more or less because of those lights. I think having standard lights in there will still allow for that space to continue being used as it has been. A lot of the events that have been done in that one-way street that have activated it have been Shire events. It hasn't necessarily been taken up. I think there was a couple of events by the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm not even really sure exists anymore. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable spending $40,000 to investigate whether we need to spend even more money on an area that will continue to be used and activated with standard lighting, which would still be maintained. It's not that the lights would go out completely. We would still have normal lighting, just not the coloured lights. And I feel as though when I speak to my community, and if I said we can put $40,000 into getting the lights so that they continued flashing in Brockman Street, or we could commit $40,000 to our footpath program to get those slabs replaced so that people can walk into the town that they love, I'm pretty certain that all the people I speak to would say, please put the money into the footpaths or into our roads or into something like that. So realistically, it's not a huge amount of money, but I don't necessarily think just because we made a decision in the past that where we didn't consider the ongoing maintenance costs probably well enough that we should double down and continue making those decisions going forward. I think there is an opportunity for us to say that it has only been 5 or 6 years since these have gone in, and it's already costing us $40,000 just to investigate and do some basic maintenance. What will that look like continuing going forward? And I'm not comfortable that $40,000 now and not knowing what that will be into the future is the best way for us to be spending our money, when I do believe there's things that actually impact our community a lot more than the lights. in a space that will continue being used in the way that it has already been used. So I will be voting against this motion, although I do recognise that it might not be particularly popular.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Councillor Tempera?
I'll be voting for this motion alongside with our Shire President. It hasn't even been 10 years, and I don't think we should let the lights go out because of previous decisions that were made. I think we have to show that we've got commitment to what was committed to, pardon the pun and the double wording. I think what we need to do, and I do take Councillor Darren's points on board, but the comments I get from people out of town about our lights, and I am certainly not saying that we don't need footpaths and things like that, we do for our community, but you never really know the value of something until it's gone, and nobody remembers what Brockman Street was like in terms of the one way and how everything was changed in that whole time frame. So I think once it's gone, it's gone. We can't turn around and say we want to do it again, but I think we just need to commit to a maintenance program that whoever's sitting here in the next 10 years is not having the same conversation. So I think we have to make a decision now that we will commit to this. We will see what comes about. It might not be a massively expensive finding, who knows, but I would be really remiss to support something where the lights go out when in hindsight it probably wouldn't have been that much. It's all speculation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Mylan, did you want to?
Can I just offer a bit of procedural advice?
Sure. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a little bit of procedural advice in relation to this. Reading the room, and I'm not sure which way the vote will go, and that is up to the council. However, just picking up on Councillor Mylan's comment about if to vote the motion down. If the motion is voted down, there is no motion, and definitely from a governance perspective, if the mood of the council or the will of the council is to not do the works there, and maybe run some community consultation or wait 12 months, it would be better to foreshadow an alternate motion and provide a little bit of instruction to me around what the council wants to do rather than making no decision. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Councillor Mylan?
I hadn't had anything prepared, but I can make a foreshadowed motion on the spot, use my imagination. Although I'm not quite sure that it's required, because if we were to vote this down, then it's just like the lights are just exactly as they are now. But anyway, I will take your advice and foreshadow a motion that the council does not expend $40,000 to inspect and identify repair works, or prepare or a further report be presented to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mylan. Question, Councillor Burns, thank you. Yes, sorry.
Just a question through the chair to Councillor Mylan. Did you want to include something in your foreshadowed motion about community consultation moving forward?
Yes, I would like to do that. That's a good idea. Yeah. So the other 2 points that I think I made, which is not to spend the $40,000, to not prepare a report, and to refer this as part of our Manjimup advisory group to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that in mind, we will vote on the officer's recommendation as listed, because that has what has been moved. So all those in favour of the officer's recommendation? And against? So then we move to the foreshadowed recommendation.
Madam President, would you like me to read out
Yeah, if you could, thank
Councillor
you.
Mylan's that council, so this is the foreshadow motion in 3 points. The council does not expend $40,000 on the Brockman Street lights. The council does not instruct the Chief Executive Officer to bring a report back to council on the matter, and that council instructs the Chief Executive Officer to engage with the Manjimup and Districts Advisory Committee to consider the cost implications of fixing the lights at the Brockman Street structure.
Thank you. Move the foreshadowed.
I'd like to move that foreshadowed motion as read by the CEO.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Burns. Councillor Mylan, did you want to speak to the foreshadowed motion? Councillor Burns, did you want to speak to the motion? Are there any other speakers? Can we put that to the vote then, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. And that's democracy, folks. 9.1.3, unconfirmed minutes of the 2025 annual meeting of electors held on the 4th of February 2026. Moved by me, thanks. Is there a seconder? Councillor Myland. Thank you. I just wanted to pull this out to really emphasise the importance of electors attending the annual electors meeting. This is when you can put your voice put through directly to council of motions and things that you want to see directed by council. These are generally, we had quite a good crowd this time, considering we didn't offer a sausage sizzle like Margaret River, but we did all right. So I would really encourage people, please engage with your councillors, engage with council. That gives us the direction of how you want to go forward. Attending your electors meeting, that's how we hear what you want. So, it doesn't take that long. I think it was 45 minutes and we were in and out. But it does show that you care about your towns and you care about your shire, and that gives us a direction. And we can also tell you where we're sitting, because you get your financial report and you know where we're sitting as well. So I would, certainly commend the officer's recommendation, certainly thank the senior management and for the reports that they put together. And I would really like to thank Shamara for pulling the annual the report together. It's a very impressive document. Thank you again. So, councillors, can we? Who seconded that? Steve. Thank you. Can we put that to the vote? Did you want to speak to Councillor Mylan? No. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Thank you. 935. Councillor Lockwood, I'm very disappointed that you haven't got the page numbers on there, so I don't know what page I'm going to. 935. Here we go. Proposed budget review adjustments, 31st of December 2025. Is there a mover? Councillor Darren.
As per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Burns. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to? Councillor Burns, did you want to speak to? Are there any other speakers? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. 951. Next page. Okay, I'm out. Councillor Mylan, can you take over, please? Thank you. You can use my paper one if you like, because I'm special. Councillor Batik, are you out on this?
Okay, so I don't need that. Okay, let's pop that over there. Thank you very much, councillors. In terms item number 9.5.1, the re-establishment of plantation pine at lots 9424, 9148, 9133, 9134, 9135, 9021, 9020, 9019, 9013, 9012, 9008, 9007 and 9003 Richardson and Manjimup Roads, Manjimup. Would someone like to move as per the officer's recommendation or otherwise?
Can I speak against the officer's recommendation? Oh, someone has to move it. Shall I move it then? Yep.
Yes. So you'd like to move as per the officer's recommendation? Thanks, Councillor Patink. We've got a seconder? Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Darren? Councillor Batink, you'd like to speak
Yeah.
to the motion?
Yeah, I would just like to acknowledge that the fire risk here is quite high, and I think a lot of the neighbours' objections are quite valid as far as the property not being manned as such. So even if they had fire equipment on the property, it wouldn't be used or be able to be accessed. And then the concerns about escape and the one-way in and the one-way out are quite valid. And because Northcliffe has a high recent history of all this of fire, that we need to acknowledge these concerns. And also the reducing the amount of available agricultural land in the area with more tree farms. Then we have less people in the town, less people going to the school, less businesses, and it affects everybody. So that's my main concerns.
Do we have any other speakers in favour of this officer's recommendation? Any more speakers against?
Yeah, I'm speaking
Thank you.
against.
Yes.
For all of the reasons that were spoken about tonight, but also the documentation that was put together by the company, I felt was very cut and paste. I didn't feel that it didn't reflect any kind of investment or getting to know the area that they were going to be impacting upon, and I'm extremely disappointed in that, so I couldn't vote more no if I tried.
Thanks, Councillor Tempera. Any other speakers for or against this motion? Do we need to foreshadow something? Yep, Councillor Darren?
Yes, sorry. If we were going to, I'll foreshadow a motion, but is there any significant risks if the foreshadowed motion was a refusal in comparison, say, to a deferral to give opportunity for a proper refusal to be written, acknowledging that I can't come up with something on the spot that's more than just a refusal.
Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Acting Madam. So I might need to take a little bit of advice from one of our planning team about where we're at in butting up to the deemed refusal period. Jason, Mr. Jocelyn, do you happen to know?
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Jocelyn. So on that basis, if this was deferred without the endorsement or approval of the applicant, it would be a deemed refusal, which would then trigger an appeal process. And without, I can't comment on whether an appeal would be lodged or not. So yeah, if we defer it, we do head into that territory. However, if it went into mediation prior to an appeal, it would likely be requested to be represented back to the council for reconsideration anyway. So,
I foreshadow that council in accordance with Part 10 of the Shire of Manjimup Local Planning Scheme Number 4 refuses planning approval for a plantation Pinus radiata at lots 9424, 9148, 9133, 9134, 9135, 9021, 9020, 9019, 9013, 9012, 9008, 9007, 9003, Richardson and Manjimup Roads, Manjimup, TP 2025/181. Does that capture what you need?
Yeah, can you offer some more advice?
Yeah, I can. There will need to be some reasons for the refusal, which will become very important in the appeal process if it is commenced.
Can we suggest some?
Reason being of we don't believe that can you word it better for me if I just tell them? Okay, reasons are that the fire management plan and mitigation strategies not
Insufficient.
insufficient. That consideration of some of the environmental factors of sites in the near vicinity are insufficient, and public consultation was not sufficient, was insufficient. Is that a good one? Is two enough? Does anyone tell I'm making this up on the fly?
Sorry. Mr. Acting Presiding Member, you can use that, yes, absolutely. Probably doesn't reflect well on the organisation, but that's...
Let's leave that one out then. Is two fine? Fire mitigation and environmental concerns. Let's go with that.
As we're
Sorry, can I ask a
constructing
question,
this,
Madam President?
Yep.
Can I sort of tack on a little bit to Councillor Darren as well, taking the concerns and considerations from the gallery as well? Is there an opportunity for members of the gallery that have voiced their concerns to us to have a conversation with the proponents as well? Can that be requested?
It can certainly be, through the chair, if I may, it can certainly be requested. It's totally up to the applicant whether they entertain that or not.
Yep, thank you.
Whilst we're debating this, we tend to be workshopping the alternative motion a little bit. I'm just wondering if there are any other conditions that are we allowed to do that that other councillors might wish to include?
My advice to the council would be that there is a foreshadowed motion now for refusal with two points of rationale. My advice would be to vote on the substantive matter, points 1 to 6, I think it is, with some advice notes. If that passes, then it passes. If it fails, then you move to the foreshadowed motion, which Councillor Darren has foreshadowed. And if there are additional items other than those two, then you can use the amendment process to add, or subtract, or change.
Okay. I think I've got this right, Mr. CEO, that we now move to vote on the substantive motion, the officer's recommendation. And I think who moved that originally? So have we got any more speakers for or against that? Okay, then can I put it to the vote that we vote on the officer's recommendation, which was to grant planning approval for the plantation as prescribed below. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7. No, lost. 06. Feels like carried. Lost 7-0.
06.
0. Oh, 06. Okay, we've only got 6 people. Right, so now we move to the foreshadowed motion. Councillor Darren, would you like to address the chamber? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, probably if you give the as close as you can to the original. Yes, please.
I move that Council, in accordance with Part 10 of the Shire of Manjimup Local Planning Scheme Number 4, refuses planning approval for a plantation Pinus radiata at lots 9424, 9148, 9133, 9134, 9135, 9021, 9020, 9019, 9013, 9012, 9008, 9007, 9003 Richardson and Manjimup Roads, Manjimup, in brackets TP 2025/181, close brackets, with the reasons being that the bushfire plan and fire mitigation strategies are insufficient, and that the environmental concerns of the surrounding areas of importance have also been insufficient.
Do we have a seconder for that? Okay, thanks, Councillor Burns. Would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Darren? No? Okay, would anyone else like to speak to it? Thanks, Councillor Burns.
Just very quickly, I think it's always important to remember when we have an issue presented to Council of a somewhat contentious nature around planning, that Council remembers its role as being quasi-judicial, if I've pronounced that correctly. And we need to ensure that decisions made at Council are reflective of the law and the planning process. Now, I fully support this foreshadowed motion because I completely agree there are certain elements in the application that are lacking. Fire management, environmental considerations and the like. But as we move forward, And if this does go through appeal and ends up back in this same chamber again, we do need to remember that things like just being a neighbour and not wanting a pine plantation next door, it's not a valid planning consideration. It's technically, if council is doing its job properly, not something that we're meant to consider. As is, unfortunately, as it may be, because it just feels unfair, adjoining property values and insurance premiums are not things that need to be taken into consideration. So as this runs through the process, I think it's incredibly important that everybody involved keeps that in mind and focuses on the pros and cons in that very narrow legislative field of planning approvals and development applications.
Any other speakers for the motion? I'd like to speak for the motion, if that's okay. Thank you. I was torn with this one, and I still am to some extent. Our role, as Councillor Byrne says, is to interpret the legislation requirements that we have and to get the best advice. And the advice, in many cases, the advice from the other government authorities appears to support such a plantation. And I don't want a pine plantation. Personally, I don't like the idea of pine plantations in our shire for the reasons that we've been talking about across a range of shires around us. So I was somewhat torn about this issue. However, I believe that the significant bushfire threats and recent experiences in the Northcliffe, Windy Harbour, Manjimup area are really significant, and I suggest that some of our local fire people are quite concerned about the risk of a pine plantation going in that area as well. So whilst it looks like the statutory authorities have endorsed it, I think we are expressing our concerns, and there are some reservations because this is likely to come back to us in another form, and we need to be mindful of where we go and what costs might be borne by us in that process. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Yep, sorry, and you can have the final say, Councillor Darren. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I agree. I'm torn on this one. I went to a planning conference which made it very clear that we actually have very limited powers as councillors when it comes to planning decisions. We are channeled down certain paths by state government legislation, and I suspect this may come back to us, and that is going to be where the conflict comes in for us. I do truly believe that there is issues with fire management that I do feel those risks will never be gone, but they could be dealt with better. There could be further considerations. We could ensure that, it's not just about meeting a minimum standard. These are businesses and towns and people that have been affected by these big bushfires before, and this heightened risk needs to be reduced. And we can do that by having more machinery locally, ensuring that there's water points in these sorts of properties, making sure that there are very quick, actionable things to do should a fire start either in the plantation or in the vicinity of the plantation to protect that kind of coming through. So although we may end up, look, certainly it's not a matter of we say that we refuse this and it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, that's not how council works. It's not how planning rules work. But I do think it's important that we push back on this one and take into consideration some of those issues and ask for a better standard to come back. I've certainly spoken against a pine plantation in this chamber with the previous council, and I listed a whole range of scientific things around the impacts it has on water tables and the impacts it has on groundwater and bushfire, and there is lots of studies out there that indicate that. So that's certainly my personal opinion, but recognising that not always my personal opinion is the role of as a councillor, and trying to balance those two things can often be very, very difficult. So I hope that this refusal and the reasons why is an encouragement to to the proponent is if they do want to continue down this path, that they hear the concerns of their local neighbours and the local community, and if it's going to be there, step up and give those things to the community that can reduce that risk and ease their concern, because I don't think any of us would want to think that we were sitting next to a tinderbox.
On that basis, do we need to read it out again before we vote? Okay, can I put the new motion of Councillor Darren to the vote? All those in favour? Carried 6-0. Thank you. What happened to my computer?
Thank you, Councillor Batink. Okay, 9, just wait for half the gallery to exit. Yes, thank you, Councillor Darren. 952, proposed subdivision and lots, 951, 952 and 8694 Richardson Road, Manjimup. Is there a mover? Councillor Burns, seconder. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Tempera. Councillor Burns, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Tempera? Are there any other speakers? Can we put that to the vote, please, Council? All those in favour? Carried 5-0. They didn't even get to have a red snake and they're back in. 954. Thank you. Oh, thank you. 954, page 63, proposed budget adjustment for the preparation of the Conservation Management Plan for the Manjimup Infant Health Centre. Mover? Councillor Tempera, seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Tempera, did you want to speak to the motion?
This is an iconic and very special building in the community, and once we go through the process of getting it historically listed, for want of a better way of putting it, it will then enable us to access future funds for the upgrade and keep of the building. That is my understanding, and that is why I'm speaking for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Tempera. Councillor Wilcox? I'm sure you're standing to say that, Councillor Wilcox. Are there any other speakers? Thank you, Council. Can we put that to the vote, please? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. 74. Thank you. Okay, 957, proposed amendment to the local planning policy 6.1.4, advertising devices, signage and flags. Councillor Darren.
I'd like to move an alternative motion that Council defer this item to allow the policy content to be workshopped in the near future with a view to 1, investigate whether a broad pre-approval could be granted for businesses for certain signage across the Shire district, and 2, review the criteria under which signage is assessed with a view to exempting certain signage from approval by the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the deferment?
Yeah, just quickly. So the idea is to just put this on hold so that we could workshop it, so that we can ensure that this policy, which is largely fine, but I do think there's some areas of the policy that don't align to what we actually do, and I do think we can improve that policy a little bit to reflect what is actually happening and what we're implementing and holding businesses to account for in the community. So just making sure that what we say that we expect and what we do actually expect align. But I do also think this is a really good opportunity to work with something that local businesses have been commenting on for many, many years now, where we might be able to streamline, remove a little bit of red tape and support them to really create that small business friendly vibe. It's not that we don't have that, it's that sometimes there can be a perception that there's a disconnect between council and small local business community. And I think this is a really good opportunity that we can have a look at something that directly impacts on small business and see whether we can align it a little bit better to what they have been asking for that still meets the requirements that we need. And come out with a really good outcome that makes everybody happy and feels as though the local businesses have been heard on an issue that they've been bringing up for a long time. So I'd encourage you to support deferring this and then come along to the workshop, which I certainly will be at, to workshop it.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Councillor Wilcox, did you want to speak to the motion? Are there any other speakers? Nope. Let's put it to the vote, please. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. 7484. 9.9.2 recommendations for establishing the recreational vehicle friendly towns. Councillor Darren.
What was I saying about trying not to speak too much?
Yeah,
today?
so much for that.
So again, I'd like to move an alternative recommendation that has been circulated before, but I will read the whole thing out. I move that Council 1 note the submissions received through the targeted consultation in respect to the practicality, planning and management of the preferred sites for short-term overnight parking for recreational vehicles. 2, confirm the locations and maximum stay durations as shown in the below table for the short-term overnight parking, with the longer-term aim being to apply the recreational vehicle friendly town status for each town. Has the same table as the
hence part table.
Yeah.
Yep.
Insert table here. Number 3, consider an allocation of $22,000 in the 2026 and 27 budget for preparatory works in Manjimup, including Allenby Park, signage at the overnight and limited timed parking locations and dump point, and an allowance for some standalone remote cameras if required. 4, endorses the inclusion of a link to the local visitors centre website on RV site signage to promote nearby caravan park options. 5, accept responsibility for the maintenance and repairs only of the Northcliffe Visitor Centre dump point at the Mural Road car park, with the Northcliffe Visitor Centre retaining day-to-day oversight and management. 6, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to proceed with the establishment of overnight parking at the above Manjimup locations in the first instance, subject to the following conditions. 6.1, a maximum of 6 overnight bays at Allenby Park, short-term overnight site to meet CMCA requirements. 6.2, timed parking sites limited to between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. daily. 6.3, only fully self-contained recreational vehicles permitted. 6.4, visitors wishing to stay longer are encouraged to utilise existing commercial accommodation options in the area. 6.5, site controls and signage are installed as outlined above. 6.6, an application for RV-friendly town accreditation is submitted to the Campervan and Motorhome Club of Australia, CMCA. Once required, works at Allenby Park are completed and site is operational. 6.7, the decision is advertised through the Shire's electronic media and local newspapers. 6.7, note that notwithstanding the initial resourcing approach, additional operational resources may be required in future as site usage patterns, compliance demands and operational needs become evident and evolve. 8, direct the Chief Executive Officer to monitor the RV-friendly overnight sites and their operational impacts for a period of 6 months following their commencement, and to provide an evaluation report to Council at the conclusion of that period, inclusive of recommendations pertaining to the proposed Northcliffe and Walpole sites. 9, advise all individuals who lodge submissions of the Council's decision.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Darren, did you want to keep on talking?
Yeah, sure, why not? So I guess a couple of things. The first is how this came about, because I recognise that not all the councillors here were on council when we came up with this initial, when the notice of motion was voted on. So it came about from industry reports and statistics on how caravans and campervans are being used in Australia, certainly post-COVID, and that those industry stats indicated that 30% of caravans, campers and caravans will stay always in a caravan park, 30% will never stay in a caravan park, and 30% will do both. I suppose it's 33.33%. And so my understanding of Councillor De Campo's notice of motion was about how do we ensure that other local businesses beyond just the caravan parks and the hospitality and the accommodation providers, how do we ensure all those other businesses are getting access to that flow through of traffic by ensuring that we get people to stop for 24 or 48 hours if they are the 30% that never stay in a caravan park, no matter where they go in Australia. And that are we missing out on that? Not because they go to the next town, because recognising the next town is Pemberton and Northcliffe and Walpole, but recognising that the route that those people may choose to go could be via Boyup Brook and out east, or it could be to follow the coast along down to Augusta and then turn around and go back. So they just simply may never come down our way. So making sure that we are a viable option for all of those campers, tourists, to come down to our region and not just the ones that would want to stay in a caravan park. That is a contentious issue. I am not going to deny that. This has been debated back and forth numerous times on my time on council, and I certainly know before my time on council. So I'm not diminishing, but just giving an explanation as to why we came to the pathway of investigating this, and recognising that the officer's recommendation is a reflection of what that notice of motion was. And I do agree that the notice of motion did include all of the town sites, because it is important that we investigate and research all of those town sites when we're doing something like this. The alternative I am suggesting, though, is about the implementation of that, and the implementation being that we limit that to Manjimup only. Walpole and Northcliffe have local problems and they need local solutions. Having a blanket, we're going to roll this out across 3 different towns, and not recognising those local issues, I think is a folly, and it would mean that we would end up having a failure. It's important to understand where our resources are, what these resources, how it's going to impact on these resources, and that makes sense to do it in the place where they're located. So we can do this for 6 months in Manjimup. We can see from an officer's report at that 6 months how that is going on an evaluation. And at that point, if we want to investigate further Northcliffe and Walpole, we could consider having a look at that with additional consultation, with the local challenges that have been brought to our attention, but also identifying the challenges that are inevitably going to come up in Manjimup, and seeing how would those transpire in those other communities. And just not assuming that every single one of our towns has the same issues, the same people, the same challenges, the same wants, and looking at them as individual communities. I think this is a good start to look at it in Manjimup. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we can move on. But I don't think forcing something that could potentially be a Manjimup solution onto Walpole and Northcliffe, it hasn't worked before, and I don't think it'll ever happen. We have to treat these communities as different and find local solutions for local problems. So I encourage you to support the motion to limit it just to Manjimup, and then we can consider our options going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Councillor Wilcox, did you want to speak about the motion?
Thank you. I'd like to commend Councillor Darren for taking the initiative to do the alternative recommendation, following on from my discussions last week, where I was able to inform everyone of the potential hazards of proceeding with the existing motion. And I think RV stayovers in Walpole do have potential, but as it is at the moment, or as it was in the original motion, it is doomed for failure. And I think if we don't have everything to support it, so if it's modelled on Manjimup and all the bugs are ironed out, well then the other towns can consider it and see if, you know, that size fits their towns. And it gives the community greater input and consultation, because as I understand, only the main street businesses were consulted, and if anybody's been privy to the email and phone call flurries that I have received in the last few days, you'll know that the entire town of Walpole at the moment doesn't want it at all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Are there any is there any speakers against the motion? The alternative motion? Another speak for it? Thank you.
I think this is a wise and prudent approach to the situation, as Councillor Darren has mentioned. I think there have been. This is a perfect opportunity as to why we've got these town advisory committees now, and I just want to link it back to that because it's come up a few times tonight about using town advisory committees, district town advisory committees, to consider things like this that impact their town and use those people as a conduit to sort of garner the views of the wider community. And just obviously ensure that they don't get stacked by a vested interest, which can often happen with sometimes with those things. But more of that will unfold later. But look, I would support the motion. I think it's a good idea. I'll be interested to see how it goes in Manjimup.
Thank you, Councillor Mylan. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Burns.
Thank you. I'd like to go on the record as saying I am a big fan and a big supporter of the RV Friendly Town initiative, especially for smaller towns. They do tend to benefit more greatly than a larger town does. There's been a lot of talk about some of the negative elements of a Shire supporting the RV Friendly initiative, one of which is that it's a local government getting involved in an activity that's a direct competition with small business owners. And that, I think, is something that is a bit of a double-edged sword. If you were to take that literally, then the Shire wouldn't be investing in libraries because it competes with bookstores and newsagents. We wouldn't necessarily have community halls because that, if you want to host your wedding or your 21st birthday party in a community hall, well, that competes with the local pub or function centre, wedding venues, and we have a lot of those in the Shire. You wouldn't necessarily have public barbecues because, well, that's a competition against cafes. And we certainly wouldn't have the Aqua Centre because Fonty's Pool was there first. And if you want to go swimming, you already have one. So why is the Shire spending lots and lots of money building a swimming pool? So the argument of competition with local business, I don't believe, really carries a lot of water. Yeah, never mind. Because it's different services for different needs. And as we've covered, there are a large percentage of the community that have openly said they will not stay in a paid caravan park. The people that want a caravan park, they want a shower and they want facilities. The people that we're trying to attract with an RV stopover area just want a flat piece of ground in 24 hours to be left in peace. The other element that is often raised against this is that sort of troublesome element. Now, I don't know about you, but the vast majority of caravans are, in my opinion, very expensive. The people that are driving them around town in their $100,000 Land Cruisers are probably not the same types of people. And I know I'm talking in generalizations, and that's dangerous, but they are the type of people that are coming to town with a little bit of coin in their back pocket, in their home on wheels, and they want to spend money in the local town. Those elements that are going to be troublemakers, they're doing it anyway. They are coming to your town whether you like it or not, and having an RV-friendly stopping place is the way of essentially corralling them, hopefully, all into the one place. So instead of them being scattered all over town in side streets and parking lots, they're all in the one place and you can police it well. But that is what kind of brings me to my long rambling point of why, as a huge fan of RV-friendly towns as I am, I have to actually support
1 minute.
Councillor Darren's alternate, because I want this. I really do, and I understand that may not make me very popular down in Walpole, but I do believe it is good for the community if it's policed properly. And that's the thing. The Shire of Manjimup is stretched resources-wise. We have very few rangers, and they're based in Manjimup. If we had rangers based in Walpole, it might be a different story. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. I'm going to speak on this motion as well. It is often said that the Shire of Manjimup is Manjimup-centric. So without us investigating all of these towns when this motion was put forward, it would have been put to us that we were just looking at Manjimup. And that's what we're not doing. We've looked at this for our entire Shire. What Councillor Darren is proposing is that we do start in Manjimup, because as Councillor Burns has referred to, we do only have 2 ranges, and the limitations of our ranges is very restricted. We know how hard it is. We have a huge Shire. We have the largest Shire in the southwest, and we have very limited resources. The only way we are going to get more resources, a quarter of our income is rates. We're not going to get grant funding for this. The only way we're going to be able to do this is to put our rates up, to make sure that we've got more rangers to resource policing in out of our towns. So I'd fully support what Councillor Darren is saying. We do need to make sure we get this right, and we can get this right for minimal costs in Manjimup. That can then be looked at how we can transfer this. It may not be exactly the same, it may be parts of, but we can transfer this to our whole Shire, to benefit our whole Shire, because that's what we're here to do, is to look after our whole Shire. So I fully commend this, the alternative that Councillor Darren has put forward. And I certainly am very interested to see where this goes. It has been a topic of the debate many, many times through the years, for I would say 20 odd years, since a councillor has had been on here for 20 years and had stopped it for 20 years. So I fully commend the alternative. Councillor Darren, did you want to are you capable of closing the debate? Fabulous, thank you very much. Councillors, can we put that to the vote, please? All those in favour of the alternative is carried 7-0. Thank you. Where are we? 101. Next one. 9.9.3, deferred item from the 22nd of April 2025, consideration of requests from Pemberton Cycling Association for support of the trail development in Pemberton. Councillor Mylan.
Thanks, Madam President. I have an amendment. Can I put that straight up as we go, if that's
Sure
okay,
can.
if the council's approved?
Yep.
I've got an amended motion which says that council advise the Pemberton Cycling Association that the proposed trail alignment for a trail from Pemberton Town Centre to the swimming pool road is supported, subject to the following considerations and conditions. The Pemberton Cycling Association acknowledges that Main Roads Western Australia approval for the proposed trail alignment is subject to the path, trail and associated drainage assets being managed by the Shire of Manjimup. 1.2. The Pemberton Cycling Association are fully responsible for all aspects of the trail development, associated legal costs, approvals, insurance and ongoing maintenance associated with the trail. 1.3, the PCA, Pemberton Cycling Association, work with the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation to obtain any vegetation clearing permits that may be required. 1.4, the PCA undertake consultation with Apex Australia about the proposed trail development. 1.5, the PCA negotiate construction approval with the Pemberton Tramway to establish road crossings with signage where the trail crosses Railway Crescent and Swimming Pool Road, and ensure any works undertaken comply with AS 1742.7:2016 and the Rail Safety National Law WA. 1.6, they also establish road crossings with signage where the trail crosses Railway Crescent and Swimming Pool Road. 1.7, for a trail alignment adjacent to Swimming Pool Road, ensure the trail is established within the Shire's road reserve with sufficient traffic separation within the current confines of the road as built within the reserve. 1.8. For a trail alignment to Swimming Pool Road, install shared road signage to the satisfaction of the Shire of Manjimup. Point 2. Advise the Pemberton Cycling Association that additional funds towards the Pemberton Trail Town Initiative, in accordance with the Shire of Manjimup Corporate Business Plan 23 to 2027, are included in the 25-26 annual budget. And last point 3, direct the Chief Executive Officer to write to Main Roads Western Australia, noting their conditioned support of the section of path located in the Main Roads Road Reserve and accepting management responsibility on completion.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Darren. Councillor Mylan, would you like to speak? Would you like to continue speaking?
Yeah, I would. This is, as this was a deferred item, there were a number of just points of clarification, I suppose, and I thank the officers for going away after it was deferred to clarify the issues regarding insurance and so on. So it just makes it clear which parties, the Shire and the Pemberton Cycling Association, who's responsible for what. And it does make a little distinction that funds that are now being allocated towards this in the 25-26 budget, as previously when the item came before it, that wasn't included. So that's the main reason. And I'd like to also commend the work of the PCA. Spoke to representatives from there today, and what they're doing as a trail town with their bikes is absolutely admirable, you know, and it's been a real success. And the idea of linking the town down through the swimming pool tracks and so forth, I think it's a great idea. So good on them for doing this work, and I think we as a council should get behind and support them in every way we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mylan. Councillor Darren, are there any other speakers? Fabulous. Shall we put that the amended motion to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Page 111, 9.9.4, proposed funding agreement and budget adjustment for the Manjimup Ray Park and Collier Street redevelopment project. Is there a mover? Someone has to move. Oh, thank you, Councillor Burns. Thank you. I'm like, we're going to be sitting here all night. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Batink. Councillor Burns, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Batink, did you want to speak to the motion? Are there any other speakers? Fabulous. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Page 121, 9.12.2, proposed road closure. I think you have to leave, Councillor Batink. Thank you. Proposed road closure and amalgamation of unnamed unconstructed road reserve in the vicinity of lot 9994 Mottram Road, Barara Brook. Is there a mover? Councillor Darren.
As per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Tempera. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Tempera, did you want to speak to the motion? Are there any other speakers? Can we put it to the vote, please? All those in favour? Carried 6-0. Thank you very much. Can someone please let Councillor Batink back in the room? Where has Councillor Batink gone? She obviously thought that was going to take a little bit longer than it did. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Oh, dear me. Can we continue? Do we have to wait? Shall we continue? She's on her way. Well, that's not embarrassing, Councillor Batink, at all. 913.2, page 130, bridge number 8033, Southwestern Highway, Timber Gantry Paintworks. Mover, Councillor Darren.
As per officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Seconder? I'm going to second that. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion? Okay, thank you. I will speak to the motion. This is a significant object within our Shire. We understand how much this means to community, and the maintenance of this archway, seeing we lost the one on the southern end of town, the maintenance of this archway is something that we do consider that we need to continue doing to make sure that the arch remains within our Shire long term. This is a reflection of our continued fight and argument about traffic management. The only thing that's stopping this arch from being done is the ridiculous costs of traffic management. This has been brought to council twice now with a budget amendment. the amount that this traffic management is costing to prepare these works is ridiculous. This is something that we have spoken about earlier to make sure that we do have budget lines and we do have a way forward to continue maintaining the assets that are in our Shire. The consideration that we will go forward within part of this agenda item is how we will continue to keep that arch without the continued costs, the continued rising costs of maintenance through many, many years that we want this arch to remain within our Shire. So I would certainly ask that council do support the officer's recommendation and that we come back, we really consider that report, how we continue to keep this archway within our Shire, which we know is very beloved. How many people come back into the Shire of Manjimup, know they are home because they've gone under that arch, and that's what we want to make sure that we know that people, they've come home. So I would please support the officer's recommendation. Councillor, did anyone want to speak? Anyone else want to speak on that? Councillor Mylan.
A bit tonight. The arch, and I was talking about it. It's really iconic. I mean, it's sort of it symbolises Manjimup's approach to lots of things, actually. That arch, and but I do. It's just funny little ways, but. I know that when my kids, whenever we'd come back from Perth, they'd start at the Overlander and 10, 9, 8, try and hit 0 right when we went through the arch. And now my grandkids do it when they come down with my kids. So, you know, they all love going through the arch. It's quite bizarre that it's become such a thing. It was a shame when the other one got knocked off. But look, we do need to work out a way to maintain it and have the capacity for people to go through it somehow. I'm not sure how that would work, but I reiterate the point. I mean, we're talking $75,000 a week for 3. You know, 225 grand plus another $275,000 to get the arch painted. No wonder people shake their head in disbelief. But yeah, I think we have to support another report to figure out what to do here.
Thank you, Councillor Mylan. Any other speakers? Councillor Darren, did you want to close?
Yeah, it's a shame that the local reporter's gone before this one. But yeah, I just wanted to reinforce the importance of this arch. You know, I haven't lived here my whole life, so I'm not a local yet. I've only been here about 17 years. So I've got many more years to go. Maybe my grandchildren will be true locals. Having said that, I do recognise the importance of this arch to our local community, the heritage of this area. It is really, really important. And I know it was absolute devastation when the Southern Arch was knocked down. But $230,000 for traffic management for a $35,000 paint job. Yep. This is the challenges that local governments face. This is the resourcing issues. If we want to put more rangers down in Walpole or Northcliffe, if we want to build more footpaths, if we want to do it, these are the challenges we face. How do you, as a local government, come up with $230,000 just for the traffic management to get the painters to paint the archway? But something that means so much to our community. And I do support the officer's recommendation that we have to halt this. We simply can't. But there's no way that we can come up with that sort of money just out of the blue. But we need to find some sort of solution, and we need to do it now rather than just kick this can down the road and go, oh, it'll be another council's problem one day. We'll get a few more years out of it without painting it now, and it just becomes a problem for the next council in a decade. So we do need to come up with a plan, and I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around that when it comes to it. But I do really think that we need to strongly communicate with our community and back to the state government that the reason why this costs $230,000 is not because of the contractors. It is because of the state government requirements. It is because of what they have put in place and the requirements that the contractors have to meet those rules, and that costs them money that they have to pass on to us. And that is a very reasonable thing for a business to do. So this is not about us being price gouged by contractors. This is about a very ridiculous expectation from Main Roads, which comes under the purview of the state government, enforcing on communities like us that don't have the huge budgets that city places do. So I encourage you to support this motion and be ready for some robust discussions in a few months' time when this comes back.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Okay, 9.14.1 Northcliffe Forest Park Boardwalk insurance claim expenditure. Mover? Councillor Tempera, seconder. Councillor Batink. Councillor Tempera, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Batink, would you like to speak to the motion? No? We're good? Any other speakers? Fabulous. Can we put that to the vote, please? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Okay, page 143, 916.1. Unconfirmed minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee LEMAC meeting held on the 12th of December 2025. I'm going to move that with the addition of point 2. So that the officer's recommendation that Council 1 receive the unconfirmed minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 12th of December 25. Point 2, direct the CEO to write to the relevant state departments to advocate to secure funding for Starlink to be fitted onto regional fire and health service vehicles. Is there a seconder? Fire and health emergency vehicles? Emergency service vehicles? Yep. Yeah, okay, fair point. Okay, so direct the CEO to write to relevant state departments to advocate to secure funding for Starlink to be fitted into regional fire and health emergency service vehicles. Fabulous. Is there a seconder? Everybody. Fantastic. Great. Okay, so this was brought to my attention as part of this LEMAC meeting. I was absolutely horrified to know that this is something that is being forced onto our local fire and health emergency services, that they are going to have to fundraise once again for themselves. This is because we do not have adequate communication in emergency situations, and yet our volunteers are the ones out there holding raffles, doing sausage sizzles to make sure that our communities are being held safe. It's not good enough. These people are giving up their time, their family lives, and their safety to make sure that our communities are safe, and yet they are having to put these upgrades, which are a deficit by the state, that they are not sufficiently covered, and they're the ones that are forking out for this. So I was absolutely horrified about this at the LEMAC meeting. They fully understand that this needs to happen because the communication is not covered through our entire Shire. This is not something that the regional AMBOs have to do because they have communication coverage. They have service. And yet our regional people that are the volunteers that take so much of their time, and we are so very thankful for, they are the ones that this is being imposed on again. So I would certainly hope that you would endorse the officer's recommendation with the added point, and we'll give the CEO something else to do because he loves doing this.
Question, Madam.
Councillor Tempera.
I keep wanting to say Madam Secretary, Madam President, and I'll stand up. Is there any way, sorry, can you just read out the second point again, that who's going to be writing to the various CEO? Okay. Can I also loop into that the current local sitting member as well, for him to raise in Parliament? Because I'm sure that there's a number of other regional areas that as soon as we put it out there and we get airplay of it, that they will jump on board as well.
I have already raised it with our local member, but we can add that as a point 3, if you would like, that we also highlight.
Probably direct the CEO to write to local members of Parliament.
Yep. To write to local members of Parliament. Yep.
Seeking. And then you can continue there, state department.
Seeking that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so with the addition of point 3, direct the CEO to write to local members of parliament seeking to secure funding for Starlink to be fitted. Happy with that? Righty, we'll just do the righty. Fantastic. Okay. Julia, Councillor Batinka, you happy with that addition? Because you were the seconder. Fantastic. Okay. Any speakers on that point? All happy? Shall we put it to the vote? All those in favour? 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. And our volunteers, thank you for their supporting them too. Okay, item 10, late reports. There are nil. Item 11, questions from members. Response to members taken on notice. There are nil. 11.2, questions from members. Nil. 12, this is normally a big one. Motions for consideration at the following meeting? None. 13, new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting. Nil. 14, okay. This is when we thank you all very much for coming, but we have some confidential items that need to be considered. So you are more than welcome to hang out in the foyer till we've done that. Otherwise, thank you very much to the gallery for coming. And we will go behind closed, well, we might go behind closed doors, and we'll consider the confidential. So thank you all very much for coming.
I move that we go behind closed doors.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Is there a seconder? although dinner does smell good. Did try and have a look under the alfoil while I was in there. I don't know, it's all lapped up, couldn't see. Does smell good though. All good? Fabulous. Okay. So 14.2, public reading of the resolutions that can be made public. 14.1.1 cannot be read due to confidentiality requirements. 14.1.2 was passed 7-0, that council strongly endorse a response supporting petition number 33, homelessness in the southwest, to the Legislative Council Standing Committee on Environment and Public Affairs, and that the response be co-authored by the Shire President and Chief Executive Officer. 14.1.3, proposed appointments to the District Community Advisory Groups. The officer's recommendation was passed 7-0. That Council 1, appoint the following community groups to the listed District Community Advisory Groups for the period of 25th of February 2025 to the 16th of October 2027. The Manjimup District Community Advisory Group.
Madam President, could I just interrupt there? I'm just wondering, I don't know if it's a prudent thing or not. Would we be wise to notify the people before we put it on the public record, so that the people who were unsuccessful, or have they, I assume they haven't been notified, before we, is this okay to do it? You find out that you are on it or not by this method, or would we not notify them and then, not sure?
Through the chair, if
Thank
I may.
you.
Yeah, where it's no longer confidential, we have a statutory obligation to read it out now, so it may not be perfect, but we kind of have to do it.
And they're in the privacy of their own homes, listening to it. Okay, Manjimup District Community Advisory Group, Isaac Rinaldo, Jill Woolhams, Jodie Johnson, Catherine Dawson, Mary Nixon, Misha Christopherson, Samantha Cleveland. Northcliffe District Community Advisory Group, David Walters, Evan Thompson, Fiona Sinclair, Jodie Miller, Una Ormsby, Sarah Hemsley, Suzanne Fisher. Pemberton District Community Advisory Group, Arthur Wilson, Claire Bailey, Deanne Ventris, Deborah Mack, Louise Tasker, Peter Henley and Tony Durl. Walpole District Community Advisory Group, Alicia Johnson, Charles Biddle, David Tapley, Norman Hawkins and Robin Christian. To endorse that, should a vacancy arise, the next ranked applicant, as shown in the attachment 14.1.3 in brackets 1, from the expressions of interest group, that from the interest process for that district advisory group, be offered a position on the group. In addition to that, we would like to thank all the applicants and for their participation, and certainly wish them all the best and congratulate them on their appointment to their community, district community advisories. 15, application for leave of absence. We have one.
Madam President, we have a request for a leave of absence for the ordinary council meeting Wednesday 25th of March this year from Councillor Dowran.
All those in favour?
We need a mover and a seconder.
Can we have a mover? Councillor Tempera, seconder. Councillor Batink, all those in favour? I don't know. Oh, in Northcliffe. 7-0, thank you. There being no further business to discuss, I wish to thank all those in attendance and close the meeting at 7:59. Thank you. Okay, everyone.